Hello, Taurus. So welcome to your Long View Astrology report. So what's the long view? The long view is the outer planets. They move obviously a lot slower. So this isn't a forecast about next week or next month. This is talking about what's the deeper, bigger picture for the next year to 2 years. And in some cases longer, because one of the planetary transits that's going on for us all is the shift of Pluto into Aquarius, which is 20 years, which will color a certain area of your life. So, it's good to have the outer planets as your guide, in my opinion, because if you know that there's a period coming up that could be really good, you can take some risks, you can relax. You want to know, right? Is it going to be 2 weeks? Is it going to be a year like that? If you know that a period of time could be challenging, you want to know whether that's going to last for 6 weeks or whether it's going to last for 5 years. It's a completely different strategy on how to get through it, depending on what it is, right? So when you have the big picture, you can be more cognizant of what themes are coming up, what lessons or challenges might be ongoing versus over quickly. And it happens to everybody at some point in some area of their life. Now you've had Pluto in Capricorn, as we all have, 2008 to 2024. 16-year period. You've had that traveling through your your ninth house, which is a pretty nice place to have it. So you were challenged to think and expand your horizons, whether that was globally, culturally, traveling more, opening your mind to different people's beliefs, views, values. You might have gone to see or included more diverse people in your life. You might have just been more open to it, or life certainly asked you to do it. Maybe you didn't. As a Taurus, you can be stubborn, but life would have challenged you to be more open, more expansive, more inclusive, to increase your higher learning, to be more aware of other people's views than just our own, or where you came from. So it challenges us, of course, but it's sort of a nice challenge because it challenges growth and expansion, awareness and open-mindedness. You know, pursuing higher education would have been something that you might have seen during that time. If it wasn't a degree, because not everyone's going to be in school, you might have put a lot of extra research into anything on your own. It doesn't have to be a formal class. You might have delved deeper into subjects than you had ever previously before. You might have had unusual experiences or people or circumstances come up that made you, really, really think about religious beliefs, because that's typically the house ruled by Sagittarius, so it's values and beliefs. So you would have seen like a challenge or an expansion. So you might be feeling much more well-equipped for the next chapter, which is Pluto in Aquarius, which is going to affect your career. So Pluto in your 10th house can affect your career in terms of, by the time you have gone through this whole 20 years, you'll probably have changed jobs and careers. For those of you that manage to stick with the same one, it will be done in such a different way. You will have such a different relationship to it than you do now. You can also talk about your relationship to authority and to the public eye. Pluto in the 10th can sometimes bring you into the public eye. It can give you challenges with authority figures. So I would expect you to prepare your mind to have possible difficulties with bosses and authority figures. You might be the boss or the authority figure. People will challenge your authority then. And as we all know, challenging authority can turn out really badly, or it can move things forward and promote a lot of growth and self-expansion. So knowing this in advance, if you start a new job and you already feel there's maybe a bit of friction with a supervisor, just know this lesson isn't going away quickly. You will have to rethink your version of leadership, power, and authority. You will have to relate differently to those who do so. You might walk away because you disagree so vehemently with the way somebody's doing their job, or leading or not leading. So this is going to color a lot of years. Now, you also, because it's Pluto, it's death and rebirth, it's also what gets taken away gets replaced by something else, something better. So it'll be a slow, steady period of upgrading in your career and your work as well. So things will get better as they go along. But first, there's going to be some things where you're like, oh, I can't do this anymore. This isn't me. This is not how I roll. I can't abide by the way this is going on here. You know, you might take on a role of authority yourself if you don't like the authority that you're subject to. That can include bosses, that can include governments and stuff too. And in some cases, the 10th house can represent the father or the mother. It could also represent a massive change in the way you see or relate to one of your parents, whichever one was dominant or the authority in the house. So this is a long-term exploration that you're about to go through with Pluto and Aquarius. Now, it doesn't, it gives us a little bit of a break back into Capricorn this spring from March till June, and then it's back. So just a little bit of a back to what you knew before, and then we plow through with for the long haul. Now, the next long-term thing to look at would be Neptune, which has been in Pisces. So Saturn and Neptune, both are in Pisces. I'll talk about them individually, though. So Neptune in your 11th house. It's already been going on for several years, and it's got 2 or 3 more to go. Like, yeah, it's... Neptune goes into Aries. I'm just double-checking. Not until 2026. So, yeah, you've got a couple of years left, but you've already been well into this transit, so you'll relate to what I'm saying. Neptune in your 11th house would be belonging to your community and groups in an interesting way. So the 11th house is wishes and dreams and hopes, and often, you know, friends and group activities and community activities. So you might have been more involved in them, and they might be getting more artsy, more creative, more innovative. They might be very enmeshed with Neptune. There's no boundaries. You might have been involved in some spiritual communities or feel drawn to those. Maybe it's around your local church. Maybe it may be, you know, it's around a yoga studio, but there's some sort of belief system around your communities. If not, then it's arts. And if not, the lowest vibration of this of all is that your community is around escapism, which could mean anything from your community is, you know, drinking buddies and nothing else. Or, you know, all sorts of other self-harming type of things that bond people together that are not so constructive. So that's another possibility with Neptune ruling your groups. The nicest possibility, though, is that you've been maybe more open and permeable, and you've just been sort of allowing a lot more go with the flow in your social interactions and groups. Maybe you're not as fixed about your commitments to them or how much you do for them. Maybe these groups are even not that well organized, or they're very elusive. There's not a lot of structure. And sometimes there's probably been confusion about, like, who's doing what here exactly. Why are we gathering? Who's in charge? Is there anyone? Is there a purpose to why we're together, or is this by default? And you might have had a lot of questions around, your identity being sort of merged and blurred into the mix with everybody else's, because Neptune will do that. There's just no structure whatsoever with Neptune and Pisces. It's just like a big mush, a big wave, a big nuage, a big cloud. Everybody's all in there together. There's no definition. So some people are going to find that kind of thing very, very comforting and belonging and free, and other people are going to find it very confusing and uncomfortable, and others will be in there trying to make sense of it and give it structure. It's like they're trying to put structure on the water, and you just can't quite do it. So there's so many ways it could have been playing out, but that's sort of the theme or the energy of how your group associations and friends have been going over the last few years, and will continue for another couple years. Saturn also joined this house as of around March 2023. So Saturn would give it a little more gravitas, a little more solidity. You might have felt a little more like clear on who you are, how you want to relate, who are your people. Maybe some of the same groups of people that you belong to, or groups of friends, finally had a little bit more weight to them, or something seemed a little more grounded and like there was a plan, or like there was a little more clarity. However, still the energy of Saturn and Pisces is still very difficult to define. It's all about a lesson that we are all one. And so lessons that show us that we are all one tend to be things that take away something from everybody at the same time, sort of like the pandemic. Sort of, whether people learned that or not, it was an opportunity to learn that we are all one. We could all get COVID. We were all restricted in our freedoms. We are all one on that level, even if you want to break it down to their beliefs and your beliefs and vaccine beliefs and whatever you want to do. But in the end, we were all faced with the same threat. However you want to define it, we were all grappling with that, and we were all restricted. So moments that show us that we are all one can be tough. And it's showing up in the house of friends and groups. So could there be still, this year, something that happens amongst one of your friend groups or one of your social groups that shows everybody or brings everybody together on the same page? Because Saturn in Pisces is also here to be, very compassionate and patient towards everybody, and thereby like understanding that we're all in it together and having compassion for people. So that's a good chunk of energy right there, isn't it? The next one would be Uranus, which has been in Taurus in your sign since 2018. So this isn't new. You're used to this, and it doesn't leave officially until 2026. So you still have a couple more years of this. There's a lot of surprises and upheavals. You've already gone through them in this first few years of it. There's still more, yes, unfortunately. If you're born towards the end of Taurus, you're going to feel it most, because the people at the beginning have already had their Sun-Uranus moment, which would make them extremely restless and edgy and uncomfortable and anxious. And if you're at the end of Taurus, you might have that still on the way. If you know this in advance, you can take a look at your chart and see, when does Uranus touch the sun? When should I expect to be feeling restless or anxious? And then in advance, you can plan, how am I going to cope with it when that comes? This is where astrology, I find, can be so helpful. So Uranus in your first house, basically, we put Taurus, you're a Taurus, so for this type of prediction, it assumes Taurus is in the first house. So what you've been going through is sudden changes to your body, your physical appearance, the way you project yourself, the way people see you. So it can be on an energetic level, or maybe you just start wearing something different and your hair is different, people treat you different, things like this. You might be playing around with your self-image over these years, playing around with, well, if I come across this way, or if I wear this and I present myself that way, how am I treated differently? So, you're still in this experiment, and the main thing is for you to be loosening up and being okay with change and being okay with things not always being consistent. And all of the things that come with that, like the worry, the anxiety, also the judgment, the shame sometimes. A lot of Taurus will feel like, I want things to be stable and comfortable, and they're not. So what's wrong with me? How come things are changing so much? Am I out of control? Am I not doing something? And so this is where the Saturn and Pisces lesson comes in too. Compassion for yourself. Look around you. If somebody that you know is going through a lot of changes and they're suddenly, their life is not as, say, as materially stable as it was, are you judging them? Or do you just go, well, life goes up and down for everybody? So of course it will for you too. Of course it will. So to allow some flexibility, allow things to knock you off your preset program of what you think things should be, and allow some flexibility, So it's going to be, you still got a couple more years to sort of stay flexible and see what happens. Also, Jupiter is the nice one to leave it off on. Jupiter is still in your sign. It's been in your sign for several months. It's got a few months more. And when Jupiter comes around to our own sign, it gives us a nice boost. It gives us a bit of luck, a bit of ease, maybe a bit more abundance. Sometimes people can overindulge, whether that's food or drink or spending or whatever, when Jupiter is in their sign. But overall, it gives you a nice boost. So you've still got a few more months of that. Now that's on your first house as well, which is why I say be careful of the indulgences and the weight gain and stuff, because Jupiter in the first house can expand the body, literally. So otherwise, though, you should be enjoying some positive and beneficial aspects and new fun stuff and new fun people coming into your life, or opportunities coming into your life because of Jupiter. It's not all just Uranus destabilizing you. You've also got some good luck. Some nice things coming in for you. So if I were to step back overall for Taurus, I'd say your lessons are really around preparing your mind for change and being okay with change and not judging yourself. Allow yourself this playful attitude, this experimental attitude towards life, and let yourself reinvent your definition of what success is, what security is. Because it's going to be redefined by your career, by all kinds of challenges that come up with authority and career. And Uranus is still there. So you really need to be like, on a surfboard and keep your balance right now. And you can surf these big waves without falling off. The people who are the most flexible are going to benefit the most from all of the changes coming. So that's the main thing I would focus on. If you would like a more detailed reading for your sign or for your particular chart, it'll be a lot more precise in timing. And I can help you navigate some of the bigger picture and the timings. So you just have to message me below this video or go to river-rain.com, my website, and get in touch with me there. Happy 2024.